in a moment.
1 minute you have to be friendly.
Surviving on the edge of chaos.
Also ready to kill somebody at a moment's notice.
We'll be right back.
And welcome back to W5. People and their dogs. It's a bond that stretches back through the ages. A friend who asks for nothing back from humans but food, a place to sleep, and love. Well, we have guard dogs, guide dogs, farm dogs, dogs who retrieve, and dogs who sniff things out. And now in Manitoba, psychiatric service dogs. And who are they helping? Canadian soldiers, many recently returned from Afghanistan, who have seen things, done things, and survived things that have scarred them. Not physically, but mentally. And the dogs have become true lifesavers. They are Canine Comrades, not in arms, but to help these soldiers recover from their debilitating conditions.
A visit to the local mall. It's a part of life's routine most of us take for granted. But for these veterans of the war in Afghanistan, the crowds, the noise, exposed in the open, nowhere to hide, all trigger the responses they learned as soldiers.
They trained us to be super alert, hypervigilant, because I was outside the wire almost every day overseas on missions. You have to watch your surroundings, you have to look for cues, anything that's suspicious.
Trained to be suspicious, always watching his back. And like many others who saw action in Afghanistan, Jeff Logue just can't turn that switch off. Classic symptoms of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Surrounded by death in Afghanistan, for Jeff, it all became too much.
Seeing all the caskets get carried onto the plane, it was really difficult towards the end of my tour. You know, you just sort of got numb to it.
Now, back in Canada, he has an ally, a 2-year-old German Shepherd Lab mix called Luna.
I just couldn't handle it, you know, and now that I have her, she provides that extra security, that comfort level. She really helps calm me down.
Luna is much more than a pet. She's one of 37 psychiatric service dogs, most of them rescued from animal shelters, and now part of a remarkable program developed in Manitoba by George Leonard, a certified dog trainer, to help soldiers like Jeff with PTSD.
So you stopped him because he's getting excited?
No, sometimes I do this when I'm getting a little anxious and overwhelmed. I'll get her to lay down right here, and so people will be forced to walk around me.
Good idea.
So it creates a buffer zone, you know?
Yeah, I like that. Okay.
They don't want to talk to people. They don't want to see people. You bring a dog into the equation, the individual then focuses his attention on the dog. He can then go in public because he feels safe, because in the lineup, when he's getting a coffee, his dog is trained to look behind him, so he feels comfortable. No one's going to run up and stab him in the back or shoot him.
So if you can, you want to get just in front of the dog, get his attention, and then get him to stop.
George has trained more than 350 service dogs of all kinds. At today's class, it's not just the dogs being trained. The soldiers are learning too, and that's a form of therapy.
It's 24-hour therapy. And the great thing about a military guy, and this is all 37 guys I work with, is you tell them ABC, you're going to get ABC. So they are actively involved in the training. So they're training the dog with you.
So by doing the gentle roll, we're putting her in a calm position, and then you have access to one of the calming areas.
The American and British military have used service dogs to treat PTSD for years, but this program is a first for Canada. The Canadian military provides counseling and treatment for PTSD. But before these soldiers got their service dogs, they relied heavily on prescription drugs.
There are only 30-odd approved medications in Canada, and they only have a 1/3 success rate. Okay, we have a 100% success rate. So we've had individuals that have had in excess of 30 medications, 30, and now they're down to 3.
Down to 3, but meds can't save a life. A dog can. often rescuing a soldier from the brink of suicide.
How do they do that?
Comes right up to you. Comes right up to you, sits there, stares at you. He'll paw you. He'll put his other paw on you. He'll do everything he can until you engage with him.
And how do you begin to teach a dog to pick up on those signs?
You pretend to cry. You pretend to have emotional meltdowns. You pretend to have seizures. You start doing that. You have to do that. And then what happens is you engage the dog positively to come and react with you when you're in distress.
Like Jeff,
I can tell Jeff's getting some stress here.
after only 20 minutes in the mall.
Because I'm in an open area right now and, you know, my anxiety starts to come on a little bit. I'll just let her stand in front of me and she'll create a barrier so that way, you know, I feel more comfortable.
And the great thing is she's not picking up on the anxiety. She's looking pretty calm, pretty rested. And she's calming you down.
Yeah.
When Jeff first came to you, what did you think?
He was jumpy. Wow, and it was very odd. One of our new trainers came on board and I brought him with me. And he's like, wow, that guy can't sit still. And there was the medications. So Jeff was very, very jittery.
Hey.
Jeff is one of an estimated 7% of soldiers who served in Afghanistan who have been diagnosed with PTSD. A corporal in the provincial reconstruction team, he drove armored vehicles and patrolled on foot, taking pride in helping the local people.
I felt really happy about that yeah, we're the ones doing the help here, and made me feel really good. But the hard part about it was we had to almost have two personalities. 1 minute you have to be friendly with the people and respect their culture and respect their way of living. At times that was difficult. But we had to also be on our toes and ready to kill somebody at a moment's notice. So we had to have that aggressive side to us, you know. Ready for complete, utter chaos in a matter of seconds.
Bullets, bombs, bodies torn apart. Too many of his buddies maimed or killed. And even before Jeff got to Afghanistan, death hit close to home. He was a pallbearer at the funeral for Captain Nicola Goddard, his troop commander for 6 months. She was the first female soldier killed in combat in Afghanistan. And once Jeff got there, the stress of war took its toll.
I started getting physical symptoms, like really bad, like vomiting up blood, you know, not eating, not sleeping, depressed, suicidal thoughts. Towards the end, I was kind of hoping that I'd get blown up so that I can be out of the misery and chaos, and, you know, at least I'd be at peace. At least I wouldn't have to carry on anymore and you know, and go through the constant threat and danger.
When you went through that period of anxiety, when it was building up to a point where it was difficult for you to function, was there anyone that you could talk to?
I didn't tell anybody.
Didn't tell anyone because he felt embarrassed, says he didn't want to let his buddies down. But just before a particularly dangerous mission, Jeff wrote a letter to his family, a letter that was only supposed to be read if he didn't make it.
I kept that letter in my barrack box. Had I been killed, my buddies would have found it and gave it to my wife and family. I haven't looked at this in almost 5 years. So, well, this is it. I wake up at 0215 hours to go out on an operation dismounted. We're going to raid 15 to 20 compounds with an estimated amount of 50+ insurgents in them. Tomorrow, people will die. Hopefully nobody from our side. I called Crystal and my parents because it's the first time I'm going into a combat fight where my future is unknown. I'm proud and excited and scared all at the same time. I love everybody so much. Crystal, I can't wait to be married to someday. And my parents who took care of me my whole life to turn me into an awesome person. If I should not come back, I want you guys to know that I've loved you all so much.
Jeff did come back to Manitoba, whole in body, but his spirit shattered. The first thing he did was go to a bar and get drunk.
I went in there and I ordered 12 shots of Jack Daniels. And the lady looked at me kind of funny and was like, "Oh, is that for your table?" And I'm like, "No, that's for me." She's like, "Oh, well, I can only serve you 2 at a time." I'm like, "Well, then keep them coming."
And the drinking continued so bad his daughter Abigail, just a toddler at the time, would try to stop him.
She would see me with a beer and she would come up and tell me, Daddy, only one more." And it was really hard for me. You can sense that I'm having a hard time.
This dog, she really gets you, right? She knows your mood, she knows what to do, she knows how to calm you down.
Yeah, she knows, yeah.
And she just did the right thing now.
Yeah.
Did the right thing because that is what she's trained to do. Before Luna came along, the alcohol, medication, and depression threatened to fracture Jeff's family.
What color do you want Daddy to have?
Blue.
Many relationships don't survive the stress, but Jeff's wife, Crystal, hung in.
That kind of thing might be the undoing of a relationship, right? It would be hard for a couple to stay together when you're going through something like that.
Well, yeah, it's hard when you don't feel like that person is the same person they were before they left. And yeah, they definitely change a lot. But, you know, if they can get back into the groove of just a little bit of what they were before, then that's even better than not.
It was rough going for a while, but when Luna became part of the family, life became easier.
How would you explain the relationship between the two of them?
Oh, they're inseparable. I've never seen anybody with a relationship like them. They're amazing. They do never want to be apart, ever.
Are you a big girl? Are you going to drive it like a big girl?
And soon the Logue family will expand to 5.
Yeah, you are.
Jeff, Crystal, Abigail, Luna, and a new baby.
Next, battlefields of the mind
I'm not in a combat zone, but my mind still thinks that way.
and peaceful healing
When I go home, she'll be there waiting for me.
when W5 continues. In a moment, why are combat veterans being left in the doghouse?
They won't pay for the dog, but they'll pay for medications.
Hell no. Hell no.
We'll be right back.
Welcome to King of the Cage, who's ready for some fights?
It is fight night at the Century Casino in Calgary, a mixed martial arts tournament. And competing later in the main event is Jesse Veltri. He's a veteran of the war in Afghanistan, and these fights have become one way of dealing with his post-traumatic stress disorder. The other, and more important way of living a normal life is Farah, his service dog.
It's been really relaxing having her with me. I have lots to pay attention to because, you know, just her. She's my attention, right? So I don't have to concentrate on everybody else and what's going on, and my head's not spinning around in circles like it usually does. It's actually quite nice to be somewhat relaxed walking into one of these events.
Before he got Farah, Jesse barely left his house.
You didn't want to be around people.
I didn't want to be around anybody. I was so depressed and so out of it that I didn't care about my life anymore. Like, I had a mental breakdown. my son's mother left me, you know, like I was just a complete wreck. Like I had nothing going for, like, suicide was definitely my only option that was going on at that time.
Drinking, heavy medication, his spiral towards self-destruction seemed unstoppable. The aggression he needed to survive as a soldier in Afghanistan just wouldn't switch off as a civilian at home in Brandon, Manitoba. And when he did leave his house, he would go looking for a fight.
I was angry, I was upset. I was actually going out to bars and finding individuals to fight because it seemed like the necessary thing to be doing, because your adrenaline is pumping so much.
Come here, right now. Sit down.
Then he got Farah, a shepherd collie mix, and another soldier suggested he should contact George Leonard to have her trained as a service dog. And here she is tonight as he prepares for his mixed martial arts fight in Calgary.
I'm not in a combat zone, but my mind still thinks that way. It's all about the fight. It's all about the adrenaline rush when you get into that cage and you want to fight this guy.
Jesse is pumped, but this event is a new experience for Farah. It's not a long fight, barely a few minutes, and Jesse loses. But he wouldn't have been able to compete at all if he didn't have Farah.
I might be isolated, I might not take medication, but this dog right here just made me the calmest person in the world, win or lose. It doesn't really matter. Because when I go home at the end of the day, she'll be there waiting for me, and she'll still want the same thing, which is go take me for a walk, feed me some food, give me some water, and show me some love. Hey, Farah?
It is such a simple formula: food, water, and love.
And like you gotta remember,
But the psychiatric service dog program doesn't come for free.
we'll get him to sit.
Right now, George Leonard and his trainers volunteer their time. The Canadian Legion and other donors help pay the $1,200 for the custom-made vests that identify a service dog. And the soldiers themselves are on the hook for veterinary care and food. That's a lot for a veteran on a disability pension. The Departments of National Defence and VAC, Veterans Affairs Canada, both endorse the program, but so far, they're not willing to pay for it.
Like, we're not asking for a whole lot, but it's just, you know, we have our dogs for a reason because of our disability, serving for our country.
Jeff Logue's friend Cody O'Leary used to be heavily medicated with antipsychotic pills.
I was on like 4 a day, and I would have been 10 out of 10 max rate out, but then I got Jake, and now I'm not like on any medications. So they took X amount of dollars and X amount of funding away from me because I got better.
Yeah.
So if I start taking medications again like they want me to, I'll get more money. Well, why do I have to ruin my liver and my kidneys to get, you know, more compensation?
So let me make sure I understand this. They won't pay for the dog, but they'll pay for medications. Is it because they don't necessarily think this works?
I've heard that. I've heard that, but okay, then you show me your proof that it doesn't. How do I have, and how do we have, 37 people that are all still alive, that are all significantly better than when they started when we were with them? Can the pharmaceutical companies do that? Hell no. Hell no. And we don't have walking zombies. We have people that are interacting, that are out, that are engaging. We even have one guy, amazing. This guy was down and out, thinking about quitting the military, just getting out of it. Now, he's number 8, I think, out of 110. He's getting promoted.
You can't get too close.
And that soldier is Master Corporal Bill Nachuk, a veteran of Bosnia and Afghanistan who has PTSD. He's here in Kingston, Ontario, on a training course for his promotion to sergeant. And he says it would never have happened without his constant companion, an Australian cattle dog he calls Gambler.
I got him when I was at the bottom.
You were ready to die.
I was ready to end it, yes.
4 attempts at suicide, but Gambler helped Bill to ground his life. No more medication, no more heavy drinking. But events like Remembrance Day still dredge up painful memories of Afghanistan.
I got back from Afghanistan in September 2008, and still to this day, when you hear bagpipes or you see certain things on TV, it tugs at you.
Gambler is there to help Bill through those moments.
If I get very emotional for an extended period of time, he'll put his head on my lap. He'll do something just to break me out of that moment and bring me back to now.
And Gambler also has the distinction of being the first service dog ever to be allowed on a Canadian Forces base with an active soldier.
It's been wonderful here. We got Gambler with me. He's been welcomed here, and it makes a big difference.
So it's back to active service for Bill Nachuk. As for Jeff Logue, he says he's still proud to wear his uniform, but after almost 10 years in the military, he's taking some courses and looking at a new direction in his life.
I don't know when, but it's going to happen. And ultimately, I'd like to work with dogs. I'd like to train dogs for other veterans, you know, veterans helping veterans. I think that would be such a rewarding job and experience. And
she's saying that's okay.
She's saying, yeah, Daddy,
I'm up for it.
I'm ready for this. And I'm like, you are, yes. You're my baby, give me a kiss. Oh, thank you.
The psychological disabilities faced by Canadian soldiers and the solutions provided by their Canine Comrades are about to get a lot more attention. Later this month in Ottawa, the Parliamentary Committee on National Defence will hear directly from the soldiers themselves, arguing for funding for the PTSD service dog program. Two of those soldiers, Jeff Logue and Bill Nachuk, will be there with Luna and Gambler at their sides. And we'll be right back. And that is W5 for this week. Remember, you can go to our website at w5.ctvnews.ca. There you'll find a lot more about this week's stories. You can also watch them again online, and you'll find added features. You can also contact us via email. We're on Twitter and Facebook, and of course, we'd love to hear from you. Until next week, on behalf of all of us at W5, I'm Sandy Ronaldo. Thanks for watching.